Hey guys, I'm Coldy. Welcome to the NHL 31 for 31 series where my buddy 418 and I give our thoughts on all 31 teams. We go over last year's stats and standings and give our predictions for the 2018-2019 season, as well as look at the top performers from each squad and pick a standout player for the upcoming season. We could hit the nail on the head or be smoking the reef, so let us know what you think down below. We'll see you out there. Alright, so this is going to be the Anaheim Ducks episode. Thanks for clicking on that little picture you see there on the side. We are going to be going through last year's standings, kind of like what their division is all about. I guess our thoughts for what they're going to be like this year and their top players, and then we're going to each pick out one player that we think will have either a great year or a bust. So, yeah. Just to get us started, they're in the Pacific, okay?
Yes, they are.
Not the Pacific Ocean, but the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. They finished second with 101 points, okay?
Yeah.
101. Usually when you get to about 100 points, you're looking at the playoffs.
You're pretty much a lock for the following year.
Yes, exactly. You know the team that beat them?
Yes, I do. The San Jose.
Okay, that's not the direction I was going for. I'm not in the playoffs. I meant like.
What are you asking me?
Who finished above them? Because they finished second.
Oh, the Vegas. The Knights.
Yeah. So Vegas, their inaugural season. Good thing I didn't say the other word there. 82 games, 51 dubs. That's pretty impressive for an expansion team. But I digress because we're not here to talk about the Knights. We're here to talk about the Ducks.
Stay on track. Stay on track.
I'm sorry. Oh, fuck! Dang it! With 44 W's. Mm-hmm. The stat that kind of sticks out to me the most for them is their OTs. They have 13 overtime losses.
Yes. Which is that's pretty substantial.
So if you were to compare that to what Vegas had, they had 7. Mm-hmm. They would have been right up there with Vegas to be number 1 and lock up that.
Yeah, for sure. If they just won like half of those.
Exactly. And I'm sure some of those points were against the Knights.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know what their head-to-head record was, but I do know that the Knights played everybody tough. So
yeah.
It's tough to tell. But I look at the Ducks and I see a team who has like a very wide range of players. Like they have the gritty types, they have the big names like the Perrys and the Getzlaffs, but they have a shit ton of speed. The amount of speed on this team is insane. Mm-hmm. However, the last year, man, they had some issues with production, just like with those speed guys. I mean, I look at a guy, the guys that I see as really being the speedy players. Obviously, there's Raquel.
Yeah.
But I think, I look at a Cogliano and a Silverberg, who, they were playing on the second line with Kessler, I think, last year.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if that's the what they're doing this year, but those two guys, man, if you look at Cogliano, the guy had 35 points, only 12 goals on the year. I'm not too sure if he missed a lot of games due to injury, but Silverberg only got 40 points, 17 goals,
mm-hmm.
which is a bit of a mess. Like you'd expect those guys to be putting up more points, especially on the second line. And
well, to kind of go on about that, Cogliano is the smallest out of those players you mentioned. He's right. 5'10". That's their smallest guy, I believe, on their team. So not only do they have speed, but they have size. And so when you're going up against a team like the Ducks, they're quick, but they can also like mash you into the ground if they have to. None of their D are small, and they can all skate. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So they're in the division, the Pacific Division. They're up against the Knights. They're up against San Jose. They're up against LA. Those 3 other teams are the ones that are going to challenge them for the playoff spots.
You think? Hold on. Repeat those teams.
Vegas, San
Yeah.
Jose, and LA.
Okay.
Like, no ifs, ands, or buts, but I think those if another team in that division was to get into the playoffs, they got to beat out one of those four or one of those three, right? So it's like, you know, I don't know. So we'll finish off the division. So then they got Calgary, which I think they're going to have a better year than what they had last year. I still don't believe they're going to be in the playoffs. I think their goaltending is their sore spot. And in today's NHL, like if you were to look at Vegas, Anaheim, San Jose, LA, they all have good goalies on top of good players. Then you got Edmonton, who is like a wild card for me.
I'm big on Edmonton this year.
Do you think they're gonna be in the playoffs?
I do. I think all of it depends on Talbot. I mean, last year, I think if Talbot has the year that he had the year before, I think they're also, you know, like everything kind of hinged on his performances last year, but they're stacked offensively. They have a good defensive core. I don't see why they don't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
I think, and you know what, going back to, you know, who you mentioned before, I don't think the Kings are going to have a good year this year.
No.
They're getting older, and they don't seem to be making additions. They added Kovalchuk, who's just another old guy. He brings skill, but they don't really. I don't think they're going the right direction.
Yeah, they got to make a change.
I think that Edmonton might squeak in there and take their spot, or even even Calgary, man. I think Calgary could have another good year. Again, it's all based on goaltending, but those two teams can. And dude, look, to go down the list, I think Arizona might even have a good year this year. I think it's their turning point season.
I know the other divisions, they each have their good teams and bad teams. I believe this is going to be like the biggest shakeup is in this division for 2019. Vancouver, I don't see them moving up or down. Yeah. I think they're just going to stay where they are.
Well, they can't go any lower, can they? Like this?
Yeah, they can be lower than Arizona, but like you said, I think Arizona will have a better year. Yeah, they made some good changes. So moving on to the actual players from 2018, I guess we'll go through their leaders. Up front, you got Rickard Rakell, like you mentioned, with the speed, 69 points, giggity.
I'm high on him, man. I think Rakell's gonna have a sick year this year. I think he's gonna carry the load for the other two aging veterans.
I think I've always liked Getzlaf. But he is getting older, and last year he was injured for I think like 30% of the year.
This guy used to be a fucking fantasy dream, dude. He was a fantasy wet dream. Yeah. Like he was amazing in terms of production, and last year he only got 11 goals. And 50 but the 11 goals it boggles my mind.
So for me, Getzlaf still makes me wet. So okay, nice. He does have 11 goals. Yeah. But he only played 56 games, and he was over a point a game player. Which, so if he came back and only had 30 points in 50 games, like it's still pretty good. But like the fact that he had 61 points when he came back, he basically put the team on his back. Him and Rakell were just like, okay, every power play we get, we're scoring. It doesn't matter. Like we're gonna bulldoze through these teams. Whether it's through special teams or just beating them 5-on-5. So him and Rakell, I'm still high on Getzlaf. Him and Rakell, I think, are gonna basically take this team to the promised land or not. Perry has just dropped right off the face of the earth. Exactly. So if they were to move Cogliano up there, I know they also added. Henrique, but he's a center, so he's going to be their second line center and play with Perry, which we'll add some support, but wherever Perry's playing, I feel like the other two players are making up for him.
That kind of goes with the point I was going to ask about Ryan Kessler. Like, what's the deal with him? He's injured right now.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, who knows if he'll be coming back? Like,
actually, I read today that he was cleared for contact. But still, like we're 9 days away from the season, and to get game ready, it's going to take a month or two. So,
and think about it: 2 years ago, this guy was supposed to be one of the big pillars on that team, and now you got Ryan Kessler, Getzlaf, and Perry, who seem to be going in the complete wrong direction.
Yeah.
They got speedy forwards that are kind of complementing them a little bit, but eventually the workload is just going to fall, and I don't know if that third line is going to have enough, because right now I assume Henrique's going to play on the second line.
I believe so too.
And Kessler might be a third line center.
Yeah.
But they lose him, and if you look at the guys they added over the course of the off season, there aren't that many big names there. I don't even recognize the majority of these names. They added Brian Gibbons, played for the Devils,
right?
And he was an old guy too. Like he was a pretty old dude, and he played well for the Devils, but he was surrounded by younger guys. Like I just don't see Anaheim having that great of a year, man. As much as they've always been a powerhouse, they've been one of those dominating West Coast teams that everyone's so scared to go play. Man, I look at the Leafs now. When the Leafs would go out to the West Coast, I knew it was an automatic 3-loss trip. And now I'm thinking, man, we could beat LA and Anaheim no problem.
Yeah.
I'm not even scared of the time difference. I'm not scared of the the big heavy teams. Like I don't think they're going to be that big of a challenge, and I do think that they might slip out of a playoff spot even.
Okay. So moving on, who do you think is going to be a standout player? They could be a veteran, they could be a rookie. Doesn't matter. Who do you think is going to be a standout player for the Ducks in 2019? Is there a name that you want to throw at me?
I mean, like I said, man, I'm just such a big fan of Raquel this year. I know he's already been very dominant in the past, the past season. Like he ended up close to 70 points in the year. But for some reason, I really think that he's going to put this team on his back and have an amazing year. I mean, we haven't really touched on the defenseman, but with what's his name there, that big ugly bonehead, Kevin Bieksa.
Oh, I hate that guy.
He's gone, right? So
yes.
So with Bieksa being gone, that's more playing time for the younger defensemen. I like their D's, man. I like Lindholm, Manson, and Montour, Fowler. That as a top four, like I think one of those guys, might have more success than the others. I mean, he's your guy, so I'll let you talk about him there on D.
So my standout player was Josh Manson, which
might
not be a household name. Like, honestly, I looked up his stats and I didn't even know who he was. So just goes to show. But Josh, man, 7 goals for a D. It's, on the lower end, but still can contribute a little bit. 30 assists. He's, in total 37 points. If you look at that over an 82 game span, it's almost a point every other game, which, for a third line, fourth or second line, third line D pairing player, it's, I think you're pretty happy with that. What stood out to me was his plus minus at 34. It led the team, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it's got to be up there in the league. So not only is this guy good, not only does it say this guy's good defensively, but offensively, he's sound. He can make the quick pass, and like you said, the league's getting younger. The Ducks, they need to throw in some young players into their lineup. I think he's going to have a good year, even though they have Fowler, they have Montour, they have some other D that might be a little more offensively productive.
Yeah.
I take a big look at plus minus because it kind of shows like, all right, this guy is able to get out of his zone. He's able to enter the other team's zone and be able to, if he's not getting a point, at least be able to back up his D partner.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have confidence. Like if Fowler's pinching, he can back him up, which is it's all about confidence and it's all about trust as a D man.
And he's doing his job like that.
Exactly.
Hey, that's what it is, right?
Exactly. So, anyways, that is my breakout player. Raquel was your breakout player.
Yeah, and real quick, maybe just touch on the goaltending situation. I think Ryan Miller and John Gibson as a tandem is pretty good. I don't know really what to expect though. Like, do you have any kind of?
Well, I can tell you, I followed Gibson a little bit more last year because I had him on my fantasy team, and it's all about consistency in goaltending, right? Like if
Right.
you look at the Flyers, they have zero goaltending consistency, and look at them. They just skipped or missed the playoffs last year. So, like the Ducks, if they can manage to find a solid tendy either in Gibson and ride him for a good 50 games this year, 40, even 40 games, and then, you know, through Miller or Gibson, and, you know, I'm sure they'll bring up a goalie at some point as well.
Yeah, well, they got Caro there from...
Exactly. So they're not just going to let him sit down in the minors the entire year. They want him to get some NHL experience. So going back to my...
go ahead.
Yeah, it does depend on goaltending, like you said. And I believe Miller's time is done, to be honest.
Okay.
He is getting older. Gibson is their young gun. So
he did struggle a bit last year, though. But yeah, I agree. He's their guy. Like there's no doubt about that. But I mean, think about it. The guy, he got 60 starts last year, and Ryan Miller got 28, and they both got 4 shutouts.
Yeah.
Both of them, you know, and like Ryan Miller is a grizzled vet, but at least they have a reliable backup there. So if ever Gibson, you know, starts to teeter a little bit, they can just put him in, give Gibson a break, and
exactly. So any other points you want to touch on, or are we?
Where do you? How do you see them finishing this year?
I see them finishing. I'm not so much a bubble team. I do think they're going to be in the playoffs, but it's seriously going to depend on their goalie. Just like Edmonton, just like Calgary, if they can get a solid performance from Gibson and in tandem with Miller, 2 goalies that can, they're either going to make or break it for them. And
I agree with that. I mean, what I'm thinking is just going to be more of a steady regression. If I look at the last 4 years, in 2014 they got 51 wins in the year, and then they dropped to 46 for 2 years in a row. Last year 44. They had 101 points. I do think this year they finished below that 100-point threshold, and I think they might actually they're going to be in that wild card battle, in my opinion. And I think they might actually lose out to whether it's a surprise team like Arizona or maybe like Edmonton having a good year, or, you know, I look at teams that didn't make the playoffs last year. You know, Dallas, St. Louis. I don't know, man. I think they're going to be out this year. I don't think they're going to.
Yeah. And, you know, St. Louis lost in the last game. Like, you know.
That battle was tight for that wild card spot. So, yeah, I think this year might be that might be it for them. All
right. Well, I guess we're going to sign off now. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Bud Light, Coors Light, Molson Canadian, Molson X, some Miller Time.
All competing brands.
We do not have any sponsors.
I like that. You just picked a bunch of competitors and basically dared them to.
Well, I hope this video gets big enough that they see it and they go, damn, these guys, you know, we got to get our name on their show. So, anyways.
That'll be huge.
Can you imagine free beer?
All right, man. Sweet.
All right. I'll see you in the next one, bro.
Yeah.
Peace.